Hello and welcome to this episode of the Sovereign Goddess podcast. Authentic conversations with modern medicine women and goddesspreneurs alike, inspiring you to build your queendom with grace. I'm your host, Sabrina Riccio, and I'm so excited to be here with you. How has the eclipse portal been for you? I know, for me, I've been feeling like waves of emotion, and it's been really gnarly at times, but then also it's been so beautiful at times. And I know the gnarly times is that like perfect breeding ground for me to really cultivate and really anchor in what it is I am worthy of experiencing in this lifetime. And it's not always easy to do that deep inner child healing work, but it's super necessary. And as someone, I've been sharing a lot with social media, I'm not going to be a spiritual teacher that just sugarcoats everything, because sometimes it gets shitty, right? But it's still beautiful and it's still perfect, because that is simply an opportunity for growth. And I've been talking to so many people lately, and they've all been feeling these like really gnarly and intense waves of emotions, and it's completely normal. And we've been having so many sun flares going on, which really makes us even more sensitive, we're more drained. There's just a lot of energy happening right now, and it's all good. I just really want you to really be gentle with yourself. And this episode's super special. I had one of my really good girlfriends who lives out here in Joshua Tree with me, Evelyn Von Zuel of Astrom Council. She came over and we had a little mescal ceremony, and we were talking the day after the eclipse about, the energy of the eclipse and how and what is really going on in our political system, and how we as light leaders and conscious beings can really bless up our current political thing we've got going on in the world. And it was really funny. You'll hear more about the episode, but I see that there's never a coincidence, right? It's all of this is synchronistically guided, and there's just been so much healing that I'm seeing, and it's really having me get to a point where not only one, stop playing the victim, but two, like, how can I offer more love and compassion? It's kind of like being tested in a way of how are you going to really show up. And with tax season coming along, it's just really interesting too, because we had an episode a couple weeks ago with Laura Rose Duong and the Modern Money Witch, and money has been such a hot topic lately, because we need to be able to use our money and create money and become a league of conscious millionaires that are using our money for a greater good, rather than what we're seeing where people are using money for greed and their own kind of benefit. And I know a lot of being part of a conscious millionaire group and a group of people, we're going to be using that money to really help our brothers and sisters, to really support, to really give back, to use our money to vote, and to really support our other brothers and sisters who are entrepreneurs that are really following their heart and doing the work. And I just feel really grateful for the people that have been in my life lately, and we're all just really surrendering our fears and our limitations that we once believed to be true around money, and we're seeing money as a power, as energy, and using that as a way to really benefit the greater good. And recently I went to Evelyn's Taxes for Creative class, and it really helped me heal my relationship with money. It's been a hot topic that I've been talking about a lot, and I think it's just so pivotal right now, because we need to reclaim our power back from the patriarchal system that's really kept us from playing small, and kept us playing small, I should say. And I really feel, and I think that like so much of this like feminine energy that's coming up, not just for women or people who identify as a woman, but also just coming up as the feminine energy within each of us, a lot of that is really cutting through and breaking through. And a lot of that even has to go with the idea of healing the limitations that were placed on many of us who were possibly raised Judeo-Christian. And I know Evelyn and I talked about it in this episode, but I know for me, like, I've had to really do some deep healing around wounds about the way I was taught to believe about God, and, you know, the limits and the shame and the guilt and all of that has been going on for generations. And if we really go back to history, like Christianity and even Catholicism more so is really ruled by the patriarchal system of like the man. But as more and more women are really stepping up and reclaiming their power back, there's been kind of like a power struggle that's going on between the masculine and feminine. And something I'm so passionate about, as you've been hearing from previous episodes and seeing on Instagram, I'm really passionate about finding that balance between the masculine and the feminine, so we can come from that space of neutrality and allow ourselves to be this open vessel where we can see both sides. And being a Gemini, you know, I'm mutable, and so I can see both sides of what's happening. And so, again, even with politics, I'm seeing, like, how can I infuse more of the spiritual element into politics? Because I'm really working as a student of A Course in Miracles. I'm on starting year 6 of really jumping into this book. And it's just really about, like, healing that perception that there is separateness, where there's a point where I begin and I end and then you start. That doesn't happen. Like, there is none of that kind of thing. We are all one. We're all in this together. And so I just really want you to remember that we need to stop getting out of the victim mentality about what's going on in the world, and we need to reclaim our power and be like, okay, how can we get involved? How can we be more responsible? How can we really show up in the world, sharing our gifts and what we believe in our hearts, and allowing our hearts to really take the lead? Because right now we have to really work on balancing powers between the head and the heart, because we need both, but we really need our hearts to lead right now. And so this episode talks about politics. It talks about astrology. It talks about both of us got really vulnerable about our journeys, and just really realizing that we are here to anchor in as multisensory beings, you know? And we are really cutting through the stigmas around astrology, and all the, what you would call the woo-woo, is all becoming, you know, it's becoming the norm. More and more people are talking about meditation. More and more people are really interested in the power of the moon. More and more people are really honing in and are really waking up. And that's why all of this shit is being rocked right now, because we're clearing out all of the debris of the really stagnant and fragmented energy that we've been carrying for lifetimes. And so now is the time for us to really step up. Now is the time for us to really show up. And now is the time for us to really reclaim our power and to really come together as a community. And I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. It's so powerful. And I loved having this conversation with Evelyn. She was one of my first girlfriends that I made moving out here to Joshua Tree. And I met her. She was like, I went camping with her and went on a little vision quest with her when I first moved out here. And that's when I knew I needed to move to Joshua Tree. And so she's been a very strong friend and ally, and, you know, we get to talk about astrology and meditation and crystals and the moon and the occult, and I don't get to talk about politics a lot with a lot of people, and I'm always been fascinated by it. And so when two air signs get together, we talk about a lot of things. So essentially it's been really fun to really just go deep and stay grounded, but also have our head in the stars, because, you know, we're all here to really show up, and we're here to really use our gifts to help elevate and uplift the collective consciousness to a space where we're all unified. There is no separation. We're all connected. And these esoteric subjects are, again, becoming the norm, because we see that, you know, we've been doing this for lifetimes, and we were really calling in the ancestors and these old ancient wisdoms and these old ancient teachings into the now, to really be a beacon where we can bring this change into this new world that's been so centered on advancement and technology, but also really keeping it important to have that grounded what's going on. So I'm really excited for you to listen to this episode and heal the wounds. And I just want you, if you're feeling this conversation and you're really loving what's going on, like, please feel free to leave a comment either on SoundCloud or through the show notes here, or even on YouTube, because you can see our conversation live in my house. And I'm just so excited to be here with you, and I'm excited to have you on this journey. And to those of you who have left reviews recently, thank you so much. I'm super excited to continue to bring these teachings and this work out to really support you. And my intention is just to see a world where people are living authentically and they're living a real life, and we're really bringing in this high vibrational awareness to the planet and being able to give from this space of abundance and, you know, being really grounded in who we are. And it's just so beautiful to see how this has been really impacting a lot of people in such a positive way. And I just thank you so much for being here. And if you haven't left a review, I would love to hear how these episodes and how this podcast has been helping you. It's been really fun to really go head first with this podcast and continue to share and educate and bring real conversations and real topics and be authentic with you and really show up for you. And I just want to say I'm just so excited to talk about astrology with this episode, because it is truly the future. So it's the future, and this is the language of the future. I think more and more people are really connecting to the energies of the stars and the planets, and being able to see that it's like there isn't a difference. Like, the planets are the planets no matter where you are in the world. And so I just feel like as we continue to really dive in deeper with astrology and continue to learn these esoteric tools, we're able to connect on a deeper level around the world. And this is how we're going to really elevate and heal the collective consciousness of this planet. So again, thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited for you to hear this episode. You know, it may trigger you, but if it does trigger you, allow yourself to really dive in and feel like, why is this trigger me? Where can I heal, and where can I transmute, and where can I see this as an opportunity for growth? So my intention with this episode is just to really help bring more love into our political sector, and to bring more awareness to everyone, and reminding everyone that they are enough, you are enough, and to just really reclaim your power back from the patriarchy, because we are coming into a time where there is balance between masculine and feminine energy. And yeah, right now there can be chaos, but after the chaos comes order. And so we just need to continue to come together as a community, come together as a collective of conscious beings to really support one another. And I'm just, again, so grateful for you being here. So without further ado, I would love, and I am so excited to introduce to you this episode, Reclaiming Your Power from the Patriarchy Through Astrology with Evelyn Von Zuel. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Sovereign Goddess Podcast. Authentic conversations with modern medicine women and goddesspreneurs alike, inspiring you to build your queendom with grace. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, cheers.
Cheers.
So I have Evelyn here. Evelyn Von Zuel of Astrom Council. She's my girl, my J-Tree girl.
Desert friends.
Desert friends. So we're here at the Riccio Casita, aka my house. And I was like, hey, let's record a podcast episode tonight, since we had this like super everything moon. That's what I've been calling it. Lunar eclipse, super moon, blood moon, blue moon, in Leo, Aquarius rising. Damn. I mean, Aquarius sun. Sorry. I think the mescal's already kicking in. But yeah, it's been super potent. And this, I don't know. How are you feeling from this?
I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling great.
I feel pretty good too. I think just because I'm a Leo rising.
Yeah, so it's in your first house.
Yeah, so I'm like cruising. And 6 months ago, I was at Oregon for the eclipse, as were you.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. That was wild.
Yeah, that was fucking wild, dude. I mean, that was a very special very special experience. I know I won't forget it. And I feel like, tell us a little bit about like 6 months ago to now, like how that portal is, and then how like this next portal that we're in right now is preparing us for the next 6 months.
So the Leo Aquarius axis is a lot of fun. I like it. I love it. It's Leo, which is flamboyant, charismatic, loud, carefree, joyful, childish, and then Aquarius, which is radical and strange and weird and alien-esque. And so I really love the Leo Aquarian axis. And so moving forward into the next cycle, which is in 2 weeks, the new moon in Aquarius, there's so many themes for so many people. Of course, first it depends on where it is in your chart. It's actually in your 12th house. I'm looking at your chart right now.
Uh-oh.
No secrets. It is in your 12th house. So for you, it'll be a little bit hidden, and actually a lot of what you do hide or have hidden in the past will come out.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've been like, for me, it's like I'm hearing a lot of the stop playing small, you know, and like really show up. Like I think yesterday for me, I was seeing a lot of my self-sabotaging and how like I've been kind of like hiding with my business up until very recently. And now it's really time for me to really like step forward and to like really show up in the world. I feel like really owning that lioness part of me to like be like, okay, now I'm here to really make change. And we were talking before we were recording, and she's like, you're not gonna like what I'm about to say, but you have a lot of the same chart as 45. And I already knew that. I was fully aware of that, and I used to work for one of 45's companies when I was in high school. I was working for the Miss Universe organization. So when I hear like that, oh yeah, you have a lot of the same chart as him, it's like, yeah, but I can see that as a way that like I can bless up and like really infuse my love and my light to hopefully help him make wiser decisions that are more centered in the heart rather than so ego, which can be so the other side of Leo too. Like that's the shadow of Leo.
Yeah. We're clearly seeing it in Trump, the shadow side of Leo.
Yeah. For
sure. Because everything about him is ego. It's very sensitive, which is very characteristic of the ego too. And its priorities is to preserve itself any way it knows how or any way it possibly can. So if there's ever a threat to his ego, which is so inflated, it just attacks the way, like dirty too, in order to keep itself on this pedestal.
Well, yeah, it's like
created for himself.
It's that inner child, and that's what so much of this. You wrote about it in a recent article too. It's so much of the inner child, and a lot of that stuff really coming up too. And I feel like that's why he had to be president, was so that we can really face our inner child and like really heal the parts. Our dogs are hanging out, so this is life. Arby and Bud, yeah, they're hanging out. So you might hear dogs barking, but they're just having a good old time. Yeah. But yeah, so there's a lot of, I feel like a lot of inner child healing happening right now in the collective too.
Yeah, Leo works with that child energy very well, and the playfulness. And in your charts, the 5th house, which in the Aries rising traditional chart, Leo rules, or it's placed in the 5th house, which is the house of children, joy, fun, casual sex encounters. And in the 5th house can show the kind of attention that you got or the attention that you did not get that later in life evolved into cravings of that attention, either whether or not you got it. So with Trump, I mean, he was kind of an army brat, private school kid, and I think he got shipped away pretty quickly in his life. Didn't get a lot of attention as a kid from his parents, and so I feel like for him, on his level, it's like when he puts himself out so that he can get love back from people. to fill up that void that he did not get as a kid. It's actually kind of sad when we think of it.
I know, and
that way.
And we think so much, like, I just think a lot. I think being conscious is too. It's like being a conscious being. It's like, you know, you recognize when other people act out. It's their own like inner like wounding. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So to be able to have a perspective where it's like, stop, like, don't take it personally, and just realize these are projections. And unfortunately, he's projecting with like a very high power right now, mm-hmm. being in a very high like seat, mm-hmm. but just coming from that space of like empathy and compassion and
mm-hmm. I know, I feel bad for him a lot of times, for someone to be so unaware and being in front of millions of people. Can you imagine that your most raw self, when you're not fully developed, to be in front of millions of people, kind of like to be filleted open?
That's vulnerability.
Yeah,
for sure. But if you don't have that awareness, it's like
mm-hmm. then you're just like getting beat up back and forth, trying to preserve that ego as best you can. So inner child work with Leo is really great with the eclipse that just happened, the lunar eclipse in Leo, yesterday morning, very early. For us, it was at 5:27 out here in the desert on the west coast. And yeah,
it was really bitchin'. It was so beautiful. Mm-hmm. I woke up and I like did my yoga. I did yoga 3 times yesterday. I was like, I just really went for it.
How did you sleep last night, by the way?
Last night, I just turned my phone off. I was like, I need sleep, especially after going to the Tucson Gem Show. I was like, I haven't felt in my body yet, really, because I was around so much like potent energy between the eclipse, between being around like millions of pounds of crystals and like so many people. Yeah, super getting zapped. And like even talking about like inner child, like seeing like how grateful I am, like how I've been able to be around that many people after being like having my lightning accident and not being able to be around people or like high energy like that, and to be able to feel pretty grounded and like content. I felt good. But for me, like I slept like a child last night. Like I was so tired.
Same. I passed out so early.
Yeah, but there's solar flares going on right now too. So it's like super heightened energy that's just really making us rest and chill out and sleep. And
well, perfect for the dead of winter.
Yeah, but even though it doesn't really feel like winter out here.
I know it was like 80 today.
Yeah, it was like 80 today.
Went hiking. But my body, my biorhythm is still saying
it's winter.
Go to bed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, inner child work is great right now. For me personally, how it's been coming up is I'm seeing how I crave attention from people and what I do to get it. If I don't get it, or if I don't feel like I'm being heard, then that's been a big reflection for me for this eclipse to meditate on and like
hear yourself.
Yeah. Like it's okay. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Like no lashing out. I'm a Scorpio rising. Pluto conjunct Mercury in the first house. So like my initial reaction to outside forces can be biting, and it can be more on the negative side, which I acknowledge and I work towards calming down. And reflecting on it and seeing how maybe that's not me, but something that was conditioned in me from when I was younger, from not getting certain attention and love that I needed.
Yeah, and it's really interesting you say that, because I feel like going back to like these politicians and stuff too, so many of them are stuck in the upper triangle, like the higher chakras, because like so much of the patriarchy was like repressing the body, you know, and so much like shaming women's bodies with like reproductive rights and like, you know, seeing women as like objects and
yes, commodities.
Yeah.
Putting a value system on everything.
Right.
which is very Saturnian and very earthy. Also, Saturnian being putting a system on something or a structure around something, and earthy being putting a value on a commodity. So they do well for us by giving us systems to work with. Otherwise, we would just be floating around in space and making up prices for anything that we desire. But we kind of do. But in general, it's very Saturnian that there's like restrictions. Like you can't. Taxes is a good example.
Yeah, taxes. Wait, okay, so I'm really excited about talking about taxes because Evelyn's hosting a Taxes for Creatives class. And what day are you hosting it?
On February 6th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so 8:30 Eastern.
And so I just want to say, like, I took this class because she brought it to us desert folk first. And so we were all at our friend's house and all with our notepads, like, taking notes. And, like, this girl was on fire about it. And she just kept being like, I don't even know who I am right now because she's just weird. So lit up about taxes.
I know. I don't get it. I don't understand why it just makes sense to me.
So tell us about your story about like how like your tax background, like what like.
So okay, very good example of the Saturnian political system, and like I don't know, there's the conservative side and the liberal side. I consider myself to be a little bit more liberal, obviously. And my stepfather was my accountant. Back around 2011, 2012, and Obama was president, and he was adamantly against Obama. So much so that he did not pay attention to any of the tax breaks that were going around. And he did my taxes. I was a first-year freelancer, and he totally dropped the ball on getting me massive deductions through the Obama-era tax breaks. And so once I found out, I was so mad, and ever since then I just told myself I would do my own taxes. I'm taking it into my own hands, and I've been doing my own taxes ever since. So I W-2s and 1099 freelance, self-employed, and I don't know why I really enjoy it. It feels really empowering. The first time that I did it, and the first time I hit submit, it felt so strange. It was like I hit enter. I was like, that's it? It's done? Like I did it? Oh, okay. This is thing that is made into such a huge, monumental hill to climb. Like they make it seem like you can't ever do it on your own, or it's so hard. Like, the whole dialogue that we have in America around paying taxes is always like, it's such a dread, and no one ever wants to do it. But
that's a heavy, like, thing to cut through, too.
Yeah.
It's just another thing because, like, I feel even 2 episodes before, I had Laura Rose Duong, and I actually debuted that episode the day after your taxes class that we took. So it was, like, very interesting how and auspicious how that all lined up.
Yeah.
And I just feel like so many of us have to really work on shifting our relationship with our money and talking about money, because we are seeing everything is energy, and it's just another form of energy. So that's part of a masculine structure for you to really become aware of the money that's coming in and out, and the money that's ready to come back to you, so that you can be more in that Shakti creative flow as well.
Yes, and as the divine feminine rises, we can't just stand on the sidelines and hope that there will be a system for us that is created to function in the real world. I mean, real as in the political
going
American
on right
structure.
now. Yeah.
But, we have to also take part in these political structures. And the more that I did my own taxes, the more I was able to see politics from a different level, to see the underlying dialogue that was happening. So, when politicians speak in public, they're really talking to themselves, and they're really talking to them and like their friends. They're not really talking to the general public.
No.
And when you learn the lingo and the dialogue of taxes and small business, then you really start to see what they're talking about, and understand who they're talking about and what kind of changes that they want to make and who it actually will benefit. Like the new tax plan that Trump pushed through for 2018 for this year, which will change a ton of deductions for small businesses, which I foresee prices of products going up because of it, because a lot of times, well, you can charge tax on your product, but they're taking away a ton of deductions. And if you imagine all entrepreneurs, all small business people, which is like majority of California, knew heavily what was going to happen, how this was going to change, like we would have changed it. This women's group that is growing in America, like if we had been aware of the change in the tax bill, I'm sure we would have stopped it. It's taking away a ton of deductions for small businesses, and it's going to be pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, because I feel like more and more people are going into small business, so it's just another hurdle as small business people that we have to really fight for.
Yeah, and there's a bigger push for self-employment with companies now, because they don't have to pay for the employees' Social Security and health care. Because when you work for a company, like say you get a W-2, see now as you triggered my taxes thing, now I'm like, something's coming over me. So when you work for a company and you get a W-2, the company pays half of your Social Security, and they pay for half of your health care bill. And depending on what state you're in, certain other fees. But then when you're self-employed, you pay full price on your own for that. And so that's why companies love hiring self-employed people, because then they don't have to pay for it. And also they're not legally bound to that employee.
Yeah, no maternity leave, like any of that.
Right. But on the flip side, it's good for the self-employed person, because then they can write off a shit ton, like mileage and everything. But with the new tax bill, it's really going to kind of mess that up. It's not going to be as pretty to be self-employed.
We'll fight. We got it.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, though, too, because, like, we're in a midterm election year. So this is why it's, like, super important to really, like, go out and vote. Because right now the Republicans run the House, the Senate, and the White House. Yeah. So, it's important to really, like, be an American citizen and really stand up for, like, what's important and, like, really use your voice and get involved.
Yes, and by being a woman or feminine identifying person who wants to marry the masculine and feminine within, it's a very auspicious time to, this is not as glamorous, but getting into the tax system, getting into the political spectrum, so that we're aware and we're able to balance the two, because it's a part of life, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Like, there's always going to be a politician somewhere. It's never going to change. So we may as well learn to live with it.
It's not even to, like, one up, but it's just to, like, have a step ahead of awareness.
Yes.
And that's what's really interesting, too, is because when you think of masculine energy, as it rises up the chakras, so like as the Kundalini rises, that's actually the awareness. Like that's the path to enlightenment. And the feminine comes from the upper chakras down for embodiment and manifestation. So that's why so many of these politicians are stuck in the upper triangle, and they've completely disassociated with the lower triangle to go back to that inner child's talk, because so many of them have so much inner child wounding that they've completely repressed and are living like pretty miserable lives. If like they're pretty miserable, like to me, I feel like if you are like consciously like not giving a shit about people and just your own benefit,
for the ones that are taking bribes under the table, for sure.
But I can just see a lot of them, like with their energy, it's just like I feel for them, because I can tell like
They're not happy.
They're not happy.
No, because I think, wasn't it Plato who said the leader who should be leader would never actually want to be a leader because they know the weight of responsibility that has on hundreds of lives, hundreds of thousands of millions of lives.
It's a commitment.
Yeah. You have to be completely selfless to want to be in that position, a true selfless person versus an egotistical person who wants the notoriety and fame.
Which is still also very Piscean. Like that whole, like, I don't know, I just feel like it's still the old paradigm of like need of approval for something outside rather than like even going within and finding that happiness and that stillness within, like finding that completion within. I think a lot of it has to do with like the you complete me kind of bullshit that we were conditioned to believe, like something outside of you or something's going to complete you rather than going within. Because I feel like a lot of those people, they don't really take the time to go within.
No, yeah. Not often.
But things can change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things can change. So I want to also talk about, because I know you talk a lot about Mercury in your class too, but I want to talk a little bit about Mercury retrogrades and this upcoming Mercury retrograde, because I know a lot of, like, now that Mercury retrograde has kind of become mainstream, everyone's like, oh, Mercury retrograde, it's the end of the world. Like, oh my gosh. Like,
I wonder if those are people who are planted into the system to make it seem crazier than it really is. But when really people are like, I don't care. Yeah,
I love Mercury retrogrades. I mean, I am Mercurian, like, that is me.
So how do you feel when it happens? You love it?
Mercury retrogrades?
Why do you love it?
I love Mercury retrogrades because it's my time to go within, and being an amnivert, like, I love going, like, being super, I'm an extrovert, but I love being an introvert too. So for me,
amnivert, I like that.
Yeah, for me, like, Mercury retrogrades, because my sun and my moon are both ruled by Mercury, and my Mercury is in Taurus, I can get kind of stubborn with the way that I communicate too. And so it's just like, that's just an opportunity.
Oh, that's what that is.
Bitch, no. But it's like, I love Mercury retrogrades because it's time for me to do all the reason to really revisit. And I'm at this point where I feel like it's been really interesting because even with what's going on, like through social media, I mean, you run a small business too and using so much, and I'm just seeing more and more people right now talking about like Instagram algorithm and how it's like they're freaking out because like they've put so much energy in and their engagement isn't happening. And like, you know, it's again, like I think so much as millennials in our society, it's like looking for that outside approval. Like, oh, you get a participation award, you know, and that whole kind of thing, you know, that can be part of the inner child healing that's happening. I digress a little, but I think they're all kind of relative. So I just feel like for me, Mercury retrogrades is a time where I really like am able to go within and really revisit. And a lot of times my shit can come up, but I know it's coming up to be healed and transmuted so that I can really like show up because I know I'm here to do big work. And so for me to do big work means I have to like do my own big work. And to like really be able to like face my own shit, you know, and really like get real with myself about what's been my triggers, where do I need to love myself more, where can I forgive myself, where can I forgive others more.
You get all that from Mercury retrograde?
Yeah.
Dang.
I know, dude.
That's a lot.
I know. It's a really intense 3 weeks for me.
Some people are just like, my car doesn't work.
Oh no, I'm like in it to win it. I think because my sun and my moon are in it, so it's so powerful for me. Like, I'm at this point too where I kind of don't want to be doing like, I kind of like want to disconnect from the world a little. Like now, like I said, going back with these like Instagram algorithms and stuff, I'm seeing more and more people take time off from it because it's like so.
I noticed that wave that happens.
Yeah, because I think like so many people are sick of like trying to like feel like everything needs to be perfect. Like my feed needs to be looking great and it has to be at this perfect time and it has to like be in this order. Like I think it's just so much more work than what we need to do. And then I don't know. And then you've got like a system like Instagram that's making money. If you're using this like anytime, the more you use the site, the more they're making money off of you. And so it's like kind of like a mind fuck in a way, like, oh, like people like are getting pissed that their shit isn't being seen.
Yeah.
And they're on the app longer to try to figure out ways to
really
make it work.
They just want you to pay for every single post that you do. Yeah, I've started to cut back. I would use 3 different apps to get one post done, and like, okay, I have to change the size, I have to change the color, I have to do this, and I have to do this in this app, and then like, it's too much.
It's too much.
I need just like get simple, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Is my motto for this year.
So how do we keep Mercury retrograde simple, stupid?
By doing the work before it happens. By making sure all your shit is backed up, making sure that all of your communication is right, and really letting go a little bit, like letting go of being perfect, which Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. And Virgo, as we all know by now, is about perfection and keeping things pretty and neat and tidy and healthy, and like getting that precise moment, like that perfect microsecond. But
I get it.
Kind of getting that all out of the way before Mercury retrograde comes in, so that you're not so stuck on the outcome, and it's more about the journey, and it's not about the end result. Because Mercury retrograde, if you're trying to get out of yourself, will push you back in and say, no, how about you think about what you're doing first?
Ooh. So when is the next Mercury retrograde?
It's, I have my app open March 22nd, because, surprise, I don't have everything memorized. March 22nd.
And then it ends like the day before taxes are due.
Yeah, the 15th. It ends the 15th, and then it's also, I think, I don't have my calendar up, but the 15th of April is a pretty big day. By the way, I have a calendar that I am offering with the Taxes for Creatives webinar that has all of the Mercury retrogrades, the new and full moons, the eclipses, solstices, and I'm integrating the pagan holidays. And, you know, I also add Xmas because you have to have Christmas, but it's in small font. So I'm trying to move away from the patriarchal holidays that have been created for us that actually are overshadowing the true meanings
of the holidays.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it was once kind of worship of the planets and the stars and the seasons and the earth. And then somehow it got very, high-minded, very human mind. And then we created human forms for everyone. And
so why do you feel like astrology has been so popular lately, and people are like really like aware of the Mercury retrogrades, or like people are really like honing in more on these full and new moons, doing rituals? Why do you feel like it's finally like really showing up?
You know, NPR just put out a really interesting article about why millennials are so interested in astrology lately. I glanced through it because I'm like, I know about this already. I don't need to read this. But
we only have so many hours in a day.
Yeah. Like, but cool that NPR is talking about it. What I think is, I guess I can only speak from my own personal experience, because it's probably similar to a lot of people. And my own personal experience is that I grew up in a Christian home, very Christian, went to church every Sunday, stood in church and watched everyone praise Jesus, and kind of was confused and didn't understand why they were so emotional about it. Also, we went to some pretty interesting Korean churches. If anyone's gone to those, they like speak in tongue and really like bopped on the head and all that fun stuff. That. I would like come home and my mom's speaking tongue. I just like walk into the next room and eat my snacks. So that's the home I grew up in, and I just did not feel connected to it at all whatsoever. I had no attachment, And for a while, I thought it was this because there was something wrong with me. The Christian and Catholic, well, the Judaic religion sort of preach that if you're not in this way, then you're wrong and you're damned to hell. And so it kind of scared me growing up to even think about going a separate way, until I started learning more about astrology. I'm like, this makes so much sense. It felt like a guilty pleasure at first. I was like, this feels really good. It feels really good and it feels really right, but so wrong. Because it's against
what you were
what I was raised as. And so I had to go through that whole shedding of the identity of that child, the root connection of that thought process. Yeah, that guilt and shame. And then eventually felt fine. I was like, oh, it makes perfect sense to me. So I guess in short, trying to find a truth, my own truth.
Yeah, but why do you feel like it's being like huge right now? With
I think same reason.
Yeah,
that a lot of people are going through the same exact things. We in America specifically, we've grown up with parents who were Christian by name, but not necessarily
practicing the true like evangelical way,
or like this having that spiritual connection, and so it seems more like a social thing.
Yeah,
or a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that, and also because of the new age that we're coming upon, we want more truth. We want real truth. We want to know more about ourselves. We want to know why we are the way we are. As humans, the way that we've evolved now, we're getting to a point where we're okay. We've got our structures in place. We've got our roofs over our head. We have our agriculture in line. We've kind of gone through the zodiac, right? We've gone through like all the stages. We're born. We have identity. We know how to protect ourselves. We really don't have anything to be afraid of for the most part. We're not going to get eaten by a bear randomly or a cougar. And so now we're looking for a more divine connection, a more spiritual connection. And although Christianity helps a lot of people, it's the biggest component of the 12-step program. It's not really giving people a full, in-depth spiritual experience because it's something outside of yourself. Astrology is about learning how you are integrated with the universe.
Well, it's because like so many of the planets, we are like the energy and the different molecular structure of these stars are also within us. So I feel like as we continue to learn more about these star structures and even influence of the planets, it's really affecting our energy too. I think as we're also becoming increasingly sensitive.
Yeah.
So to be able to have another layer to like be aware of like, oh, solar flare is coming. Oh, Mercury retrograde is coming. Oh, like this planet is becoming like the more dominant planet that's ruling the sun right now.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting and important with learning about transits is like the conversation that we just had. Oh, how does Mercury affect you? Yeah. How does it affect me? It's not going to affect everyone exactly the same way. And you know the way it affects you because you've been doing your own self-awareness journey and you've been finding out about how the planets affect you personally. And that is a really big component of astrology that might get overlooked sometimes. But the deeper you go in, the more it becomes more apparent that the planets affect people, each individual differently. Yeah. And it's not that it's something that it's not like this planet is an external source, like a deity that's coming in and doing something to you. It's that your personal makeup, your cosmological makeup is reacting to the energy that Mercury is projecting onto you a certain way.
Yeah, and I also feel like because we're living in such a high, fast-paced world now, being able to connect with these planetary elements and the energies that they do is kind of like an advantage. It's like having a step ahead, you know? It's like, oh, this planet is happening right now. Like, I know from my own awareness and through my own experience, like, not to do this today because, like, this is happening. Or, like, I'm going to go a little more introverted.
By the way, speaking of which, the Republican Party totally has an astrologer.
Oh, totally.
They totally have an astrologer. Because the bill that they passed, the 2018 tax reform bill, was passed at like 3 a.m. in the morning.
During a void?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Random time. No, it was in between voids. It was like right before the void was going to start. And it was like right after Mercury went direct. It was like right in between this like perfect little window of time. I'm like, oh, come on. Come on. You're not making it any more obvious. So whenever they pass bills that are like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., random, Sunday, question it because that's not normal.
And it's good to know these things too. Like, I feel like more and more calendars and planners that I'm buying too, they're showing more of these transit charts too.
Yeah.
To really be aware and to just be like, oh.
So you know what's up.
Nota bene, you know? Like,
yes.
Duly noted.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And not necessarily to plan your life around these things happening, but to be aware. Yeah. Just be aware. Because, you know, when...
And to connect with your intuition, too, with a lot of this, too.
Yeah.
Because we are becoming multisensory beings. And to become a multisensory being is to live beyond the five senses. And I feel like so much of us have been, like, conditioned through our food, through the junk we see on TV to really calcify our pineal glands, which makes us, like, not able to connect to that intuition. So as we become, like, more aware, doing more meditation, like, eating, like... alkaline-based foods and like cleaner water and doing the work to really decalcify the pineal gland, we're also waking up to like, whoa, something's fishy or something's off right now. Like we're getting out of the robot, like mind control kind of space. So to think outside the box, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah. And a lot of the readings that I do, people walk away with the validation of knowing that what they were feeling
is true.
Yeah. And I think that it's helpful for people maybe just starting out or on the road to their path of self-discovery to, I mean, I wish that I had that on my path. I didn't really have a lot of outlets, besides a couple of really great friends who were a little bit more advanced than I, but to have someone like an astrologer be like, yeah, you're like, this is what you're feeling. You're like, yeah, this is what I'm feeling. I think it's like putting a name to a condition. Like when you put a name to something, you have something to hold on to.
Yeah.
Like, oh yes, that is me. That's who I am.
Yeah, well then it's like, you're not going crazy in your head. Like sometimes too, it's like, oh, like, okay, this is valid. This is like what's happening.
There's so many people that are so relieved when I tell them that they were born with Mercury retrograde. Because they're like, why does it not affect me? Like, because you are Mercury retrograde. Like, oh, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, so many people, when I say that, they're like, oh, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. I feel like as we continue to learn more and really educate ourselves more, I just feel like so many people I see now are so passionate about astrology.
Yeah.
You know? It's not the woo-woo anymore. It's becoming the norm.
Yeah. And it was the norm.
Yeah. Well, that's what all the new age is. All the new age is just going back to ancient ways of being. Yeah. Community and like coming together and like taking breaks from technology. Like this is, and this is why I think it's like, I feel so blessed to be a millennial, is because we're the last generation to remember what life was like pre and post technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
We're the segue into the new age.
And so we had to really make sure that we're really like honoring that and paying reverence to those times where not everything is so reliant on technology. I mean, yes, we're using technology right now. We're surrounded by all this tech stuff. Cool. Like I'm I'm not bashing it, but there's also like a boundary that needs to be really addressed. And like, okay, like human interaction. A lot of people, like the zombie apocalypse is just everyone on their fucking phones walking around, you know?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about something that I've been really passionate about, and I'm like slowly working on my grand article of Uranus.
Yes.
Moving into Taurus, because it's going to be there for quite some time. And
when does that happen?
It's in March, I think.
That's pretty
exciting. I have my sun in the 12th house, so I don't remember details very easily. It's not. Let
me look at this chart.
I'm looking at my ephemeris. By the way, you can't see it, sorry, but maybe I'll we'll put it in the description. It's called ephemeris. It's for iOS, and it moves into Taurus on May 15th, the other month. May 15th, and we'll definitely feel it. A lot of post-humanist rhetoric will come up. Biology.
It changes every 60 years, right? Or so?
Not that long. No, Uranus is like 14, I believe.
Still a big chunk.
Yeah. Oh no, it's only 7.
7 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, going back to Uranus, Taurus.
So, Taurus being an earth sign. It's very physical, sensual. It's about our connection to reality through our 5 senses. Uranus, a very technological, pretty high-minded, psychic, and by means of mental transference, so the internet, and technology will be in this sign that's very sensual.
Which is interesting with net neutrality.
Yeah, I can see that happening. But it's going to, like, I'm thinking VR.
Oh, yes, all the virtual reality.
Yeah. Like, VR for sure will be hugely connected with the Uranus and Taurus era. Merging human sensory with technology. So anything that's like touch, sight, taste, smell, hearing, those will probably see huge jumps in technological advancements.
Robots, man.
Regarding that.
Crazy.
And what else? Taurus is ruled by Venus. It's very sensual and it's cuddly. You know, I've been seeing a lot of robot women being built for sex
toys. Yeah, I saw a whole thing on I think it was like Vice.
Yeah. That too is another thing.
Whoa, that's a crazy industry.
Yeah, I see that connected to Uranus and Taurus, and maybe also merging being more, allowing it to not be a taboo, but allowing it to be more socially acceptable to be that intimate with a robot.
Wow. Trip.
Yeah. So I definitely see that shifting for the next 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like with the advance of technology, it's for sure.
Oh, also, because Taurus is the throat, and it's the voice. So if you think like transferring the voice from one place to another with the mind.
Like telepathic? Yeah.
So beaming messages that you can hear.
So how do we use that to an advantage that actually supports the highest benevolence of truth and love?
Being self-aware. Just being aware of your own self, your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own senses, connecting to your body in a physical way as much as possible before Uranus does this.
So coming back into our bodies.
Yeah, before this Uranus comes in, because once it comes in, then it's going to be easier to kind of go out into the ethers.
More meditation, more nature, more grounding.
Yeah.
More inner child work so you can heal the bottom triangle, because the bottom triangle relates to our physical being, and then the upper triangle is your spiritual being.
And Uranus is up here too. So
in the crown.
Uranus is up here and Taurus is
down.
Yeah. It's right here, around here, and here.
Yes.
So it's merging the two. Maybe so that the bottom can rise up and speak its truth. In radical ways. So
allowing your the physical, well, I think the biggest thing is just like being aware in your body so you can allow the manifestations to come through.
Yeah. Not be scared.
Yeah. Like ground into your truth, ground into your intuition and your gut feelings.
On a very random, mundane note, people born with Uranus and Taurus will probably have very unique voices.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That'd be so interesting.
Maybe, what if there's a implant for voice that just is
like a trach?
Changes everything. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Up, when the dog had all the different voices.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. And there's this new earbud that it automatically translates every single language into your ear for you in real time.
That's kind of like what Google's been doing with an app too.
Yeah.
I think if you go to other foreign countries and stuff and translating in that way.
Yeah, I saw a little ad for this device not too long ago.
Trip.
So that's another thing too, the voice, translating it through a technological aspect to help humankind.
Yeah, let's all talk about doing this to help the people, right? Let's pray that it's all for the benefit of and good of all.
Yeah, if there was a way that we could have one language or one way to communicate.
Oh, I know. It's called astrology.
All right.
Oh, something that everyone can figure out.
Yeah, because it means, well, pretty much means the same. Even if it's Vedic or Western, Mars is Mars.
Yeah.
Wherever you go. Mars, we
no
all
one fights
think
about
of
the planets.
Thing. Yeah, it's the same wherever you go.
Oh my God, all the dogs are trying to jump on our laps right now. Okay, so before we end, I want to ask you a couple fire questions. What is your spirit animal?
Raven.
Ooh, why?
They give me gifts. They're always in places that help me in the right time. Like I told you earlier about, I have a rabbit and I let him run around the yard, and one day I was outside with him in the front yard, and all of a sudden I look up and there's a hawk hovering above us. I'm like, oh crap. And I kind of just watch his behavior to see what he's going to do, and then I see a raven fly in and swoop in and shoo him away. And that was really magical. I was like, thank you, Raven. Another time I was taking a hike and there's a massive vulture that was circling around me. First, I was like, oh damn, what's wrong with me? Am I sick? I'm like, I'm not sick. I'm not dead. But I was kind of legit freaking out. And the raven came by, swooped in and scared him off. And another time, I was on a photo shoot in my recent past life. I was worked with a photo studio, and we were on a shoot, and these two ravens were circling above us, and I was standing on top of the stairwell or staircase outside that led up to a pool, and everyone else was sort of below just watching. We were setting up a shot, and the two ravens were circling, and one of them dropped a stick right next to me, like right here, and everyone saw, and we're all like, whoa, that was
trippy.
So for you. Like, it could not have not been for you. And a dream that I had where a raven came and visited me, and I just knew that he was mine. So.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Okay, so what would you say is a mantra that's really resonating with you right now? Oh, there's our dogs.
A mantra that's really resonating with me is I am a motherfucking ray of light.
I am a motherfucking ray of light. Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that, dude. Yeah, fuck yeah. Rays of light.
Mm-hmm.
The dogs are having too much fun. They're rays of light too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what would you say to a skeptic about astrology?
There's like isn't there a class for this in astrology school? What I would say, I wouldn't say much, honestly. I wouldn't say much. I would probably ask him or oppose him how they're doing. I would ask them about their day. Why? Because people are skeptical of astrology. Skepticism is healthy. It's necessary. There's nothing wrong with it. But people who reject something without having experienced it is pushing something away from themselves that they're afraid of. And astrology is inner work. So I would just ask them how their day was. Because maybe that in itself is as much inner work as they're going to do. That's really how I approach those types of people.
I love that. Okay, what would you say to younger Evelyn today?
Oh, I would say I don't know, keep your head up.
Keep your head up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then what would be one last thing of advice or one last takeaway you would want everyone who's hearing this know?
One last piece of advice. Let's pertain it to astrology. I say don't ever feel deterred from it. Don't ever feel overwhelmed, because it's overwhelming and there's a lot of information. Just because someone like me who works and does astrology full time has a certain amount of knowledge, it doesn't mean that we are the end all be all. Astrology is in such a flux right now where it's open to so much interpretation. Although there's a guideline, we're really paving the way for transforming astrology into a new type that fits us. It fits who we are. It's based off of an old system too, and it was very male dominated for a very long time. So switching it to be more feminine
or balanced.
And balanced, which would be switching it to be more feminine. Is kind of the trend right now. But it's evolving.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you make amazing charts too, birth charts, and you do readings. Where else can we find about your Taxis for Creatives class, which is also in the link below, February 6th?
Yes.
And what other ways can we find you?
You can find me under Astrom Council, ASTROM Council, under everything.
Except there's a dot in the middle of Astrom Council on Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah. But Astrom isn't even a word that, that's why I have it. Because it's a word that I made. So
that's how into so cool you are. Just making your own words now.
Oh yeah. It's so cool. Yeah, on Instagram, on my website, astromcouncil.com. The webinar class is astromcouncil.com/shop. where you can also find all of the charts on there. They're printed on very nice deep matte paper.
They're beautiful.
And so there's no shine, fingerprint resistant for the most part. And yeah, it's all on that same page, on the shop page.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for educating us, and thanks for like talking politics with me. I know like we kind of went there today and probably triggered some things, but this was part of the inner child healing work, I guess.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of people that I feel like I'm able to talk a lot of politics about with. A lot of people are like nervous about talking about politics with their business or, you know, but this is like not the time to shy anymore. Like we have to speak up to make change and to educate.
Yes. Yeah, I will say what inspires me constantly is thinking about the Russian Revolution that happened before they, I mean, you know, the country's still a little wild in their politics, but
you have a lot of the same chart as Putin.
I do,
and I have a lot of the same chart as Trump. So
yes.
we're changing the world with light and love.
Yeah, we are. But what really inspires me is the revolution in Russia, the Russian Revolution. Look it up. How it started was a group of women workers who walked out on the job, and they changed the entire course of the Russian political system.
So who run the world? Girls, women, non-gender identifying,
femmes.
Yeah, fembots. So thanks everyone for listening and for joining me in the fireplace in my house. And we'll be seeing more of you next time. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.